Imagine this. My wife leaves the house at midnight claiming it's family business. But it's definitely not with my family. And when I saw who she was meeting, any desire to believe in their innocent friendship went up in flames. Now it's time to see how far they're willing to go, and how ruthless I can become. All right, let me introduce myself. My name is Alex, I'm 29, and until recently, I was living what you'd call a normal life. Work, home, a beloved wife who ideally should be predictable and calm. Like any married man, I like to think I had everything under control. My wife, Emma, who's 27, is the embodiment of an ideal partner. Calm, kind, patient, beautiful and smart, but without that unnecessary showiness. So, you get it. I thought I was lucky to have her. Or at least, that's what I believed until these damn meetings started. It all began quietly, as trouble usually does. I have a brother, David. He's 33. A real life of the party kind of guy. You know, one of those people who never misses a gathering, who always finds a chance to bless everyone with his, let's say, enlightened opinion. So, if I'm stability and a normal rhythm of life, then he's chaos and nightlife. And then suddenly, like someone flipped a switch, he needed something specifically from my wife. He started inviting her to meetings. Oh, nothing suspicious, of course. Just some random stuff that for some reason seemed important to both of them. Fine, once or twice. But then it turned into regular outings. At first, I thought maybe my brother genuinely needed support. Emma has always been empathetic, so helping her husband's brother could well fit within her comfort zone. But the more I thought about it, the more a sense of unease grew within me. I mean, why would my brother, a grown man with countless friends, suddenly need Emma's support? And support in what exactly? Wine? Midnight walks? Seriously, she was going out at the oddest hours, saying it was easier that way. Easier how? Is it really more fun to come back home alone at 2 in the morning? Come on, Emma. Over time, my suspicions started piling up like an unpleasant residue. You know how sometimes you catch a glimpse of something off, and then it starts haunting you? At first, it was just a feeling that something was wrong. Then it grew into the sense that the entire picture was right there in front of me. I just hadn't fully looked at it yet. They started whispering on the phone, and every time I entered the room, the conversation abruptly ended. David suddenly became an important topic, if you catch my drift. Out of nowhere, there were late-night calls, morning texts like "morning" or "hope you have a great day." And these weren't for me. What the hell, right? I started feeling like a third wheel in my own relationship. At some point, I realized these meetings were no accident. This wasn't about some kind of support, or even just friendship. My suspicions had reached the point where I couldn't shake the thought. It was time to figure out what was really going on. If my dear brother was so interested in my wife, then fine, I'd find out. Have you ever felt like a complete idiot, but at the same time knew you had to go all the way? Well, that was my life that night. It started with me waking up to strange whispers. You know, usually, if someone's whispering at 1 in the morning, it's either secrets or problems. And in our case, it was clearly both. I'm lying there, hearing rustling, and I catch a bit of her voice, tense, like someone on the other end is planning a bank heist, and she's their inside contact. And then, "Yeah, I'll be there in a minute." Be there? At 1 in the morning? What the actual? I jump out of bed, find Emma already dressed, in a jacket, with her bag in hand. She literally froze when she saw me, like a deer caught in headlights. "All right, what's this about, Emma?" I'm standing in the doorway, not about to let her through until she explains. But she barely even blinks. Instead of offering any explanation, like a normal person would, she calmly replies, "Alex, it's just a family matter. Nothing important." A family matter? I've just woken up, and out of the blue, my wife suddenly has to rush out of the house for some secret family business. Why is she talking to me like some bit-part actress who's forgotten her lines? Wait, maybe I should go with you since it's family. I decide to play along with her rules, even reaching for my jacket. But just then, she squints like she's just won at poker, and adds coldly, "Listen, Alex, you really don't need to. Trust me, I'll handle it myself." Handle it herself? Since when? Okay, now I realize that whatever's going on here is bigger than just some family thing. Without even looking back at me, she slips past and closes the door behind her, leaving me in a dim room full of questions and absolutely no answers. I stood there, feeling like a complete fool, frozen in place. The rest of the night, I wandered around the house like some suspicious ghost. At first, I tried to reassure myself. Maybe it really was nothing. But the more I thought about it, the more my insides twisted, as if someone was knotting my nerves. When the hours drag on, you start to feel like you're losing it. Replaying every detail in my mind, I suddenly remembered. She's been disappearing with my brother more and more often, with that damn David. No, this isn't just friendly support. How many times has he called her in the last few weeks? And what's with the late-night whispers? Is she part of some spy ring? Or have we somehow become the plot of a crime show? By morning, I'd had enough. Days and weeks of suspicion had built up like a snowball, and if I didn't find out what the hell was going on, I was going to explode. The day came when I knew. No more delays. The feeling that I was in some absurd reality show had morphed into a need to know everything. Tonight, I was going all the way. That evening, Emma dressed up as usual, putting on her best outfit and doing her makeup, all, supposedly, to see friends. Oh, sure, because meeting up with friends is absolutely worth going all out. "Hey, Alex, I'll be back soon. Don't wait up," she says, like we're just roommates here and not married. I just nod, pretending I couldn't care less, waiting for her to leave the house. As soon as she turned the corner, I grabbed my keys and headed to the car. So much for be back soon, I thought as I followed her on her way to this so-called secret place. She didn't look back once. Strange, but I guess she's confident that calm Alex is still at home, staying out of it. We'll see about that. Emma pulled up outside a small bar on the edge of town. I parked a bit farther back, turned off the engine and sat there watching. This is the kind of place where, once a month, you're likely to see drunk bikers and overhear stories that are best left untold. She got out of the car, looked around, as if someone might catch her. Oh, right. Someone has caught her, though she doesn't know it yet. After about 15 minutes, David rounded the corner. Of course, who else would it be? My brother, Mr. Party King, the so-called life of the party, who only knows how to entertain and be the center of attention. And there they were, in full romantic comedy fashion. Emma smiles, runs up to him, and, surprise, hugs him like it was the most long-awaited reunion of the century. Well, of course, he's not just her husband's brother. He's practically a hero lover. Can you imagine how I felt? My head was spinning with thoughts and questions. What kind of theater was I witnessing here? Their conversation was so lively that they seemed to have forgotten about everything else. They were laughing, exchanging jokes, and it looked anything but a friendly meeting. Emma laughed louder than usual, almost deliberately, and he leaned in close, whispering something, and she giggled in response. I wanted to get out of the car and march straight into their cozy little scene, to interrogate them on the spot. Hey guys, so what's this? A new version of a family comedy? It took everything in me not to fling the car door open and spill everything that was boiling up inside. But I forced myself to stop. I held back, despite the storm raging within me. If I confronted them now, they'd just find a way out of it. I needed more information, more evidence. So, I sat in the car like some professional spy, watching as the two people closest to me seemed to be playing the cruelest game. The next morning, I couldn't pretend to be the calm husband anymore. The thought of my wife acting this strange around my brother was burning me up from the inside. I waited for her to come home. But I wasn't just waiting. I was stewing in my own thoughts. You know that feeling when everything's already clear to you, but you're still trying to find that last bit of proof? That was me, exactly. Emma came back, cheerful as if nothing happened, with a sweet smile on her face. like there hadn't been any hugs in a parking lot last night. She started setting up breakfast, chirping, "Good morning, Alex," as though her night had ended at 10 o'clock, at home, and not in that damn parking lot. Her tone? Innocent, calm. But I was already fuming inside, and there was no way I'd let this go. As casually as I could just to see her reaction, I said, "So, Emma, mind explaining to me what's going on with you and David?" Now, I'd love to say she dropped the cup she was holding, but that would be too dramatic. Instead, she froze for a split second, and then gave me a look like she'd seen a ghost. "Yes, honey, you heard me right. I'm asking about David." "Are you out of your mind?" she replied, and I could see her smile falter a bit. She was trying to keep it together, but I knew she was rattled. She threw out that line with such confidence, with this steady calm, that for a second I almost thought, maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe I'm imagining all of this. But no, she couldn't keep up the pretense to the end. I knew her too well, and her tone was saying more than any of her words could. "Look, Emma," I pressed, not backing down. "How do you explain meeting him at night? And what was with those hugs?" At that, her face grew serious, as if I'd finally said something forbidden. She quickly pulled herself together, and guess what? She tells me I'm imagining things, that David was going through a tough time, and that she simply had to be there to support him. I nearly laughed out loud. A tough time? Is that some new code for secret meetings? A thought started forming in my head. Do they really think I'm this stupid? Support, sure, I can understand that. But this kind of support seemed a little too personal, didn't it? I looked at her, and the more she went on about how David needed help, the less her words made sense. It was like she was trying to cover a hole with a piece of cardboard. I pretended to believe her, acting as if I bought into this whole tough situation excuse. But that feeling, the sense that something bigger was hidden behind her words, only grew stronger. Her confidence felt fake, like she'd read it straight out of a How to Lie to Your Husband 101 manual. Well, it was time to roll up my sleeves and find out everything myself. Enough trying to catch her in a lie when I could just pull the evidence right out of her phone. If my wife and brother thought they'd pull one over on me in this little melodrama, they clearly forgot who they were dealing with. I downloaded a message tracking app and installed it on her phone. It felt like I was starring in some kind of spy movie, and it was both terrifying and exhilarating. I knew I was crossing a line, invading her privacy, but at this point, my sanity was on the line. They were driving me to the edge with all their lies. This wasn't just a check, it was a truth exam. For the first 2 days, her phone was quiet, almost as if they sensed I was watching. But then, bam! A message from David pops up. What does it say? Pure cliché. "Can't wait to see you." I almost crushed the phone in my hand. What was he waiting for exactly? Didn't he get enough of my trust? Clearly, this wasn't just a casual message. It was the beginning of their new mission. I kept reading, and my suspicions weren't just confirmed. They were blown out of proportion into some exaggerated truth I'd never have believed in real life. Not only does he send her a "can't wait to see you," but they're planning to meet at a hotel. A hotel. If someone had told me that my wife and brother would come up with such an elegant way to make me look like a fool, I'd probably laugh. But now, knowing the truth, laughter was the last thing on my mind. I pictured it in my head. There they are, with their so-called business plans, meeting at some faceless hotel, supposedly to discuss everything. What? Are they out to save the world? Sorry, but when you're meeting your husband's brother, booking a hotel room doesn't make much sense. And that was it. I'd had enough of these games. But no, I didn't want to charge in right away. Instead, I started planning carefully, so their conversation would be the last argument I'd need. Oh, if you could have seen me sitting there in the middle of the night, scrolling through their messages and plotting revenge, while the rest of the world peacefully slept. Funny, right? They thought I wouldn't notice this thriller unfolding behind my back. But this time, the director had a new lead actor, and I was ready to play my part to perfection. If I learned anything in the past few days, it's that sometimes waiting isn't so bad. The more anger you bottle up, the harder the blow lands. So, Plan made. I got to the hotel an hour early, parked discreetly, and started my little operation. I sat in the car like in a stakeout, heart racing like I was in a $1 million race. My hands were sweating, and I felt a nervous tremor running through me. Yeah, not exactly what I'd planned for the evening. Half an hour passed, then a little more. And finally, as if in slow motion, I saw them. Emma got out of her car and started nervously looking around. Oh, sure, very cautious, as if her intuition was warning her that tonight would be a special one. She walked over to David, and like it was the most normal thing, her hand slipped into his. Really? Right next to the hotel sign, which practically screamed, "Look at us! We're here!" But apparently, they thought it was the perfect spot. They walked inside and I followed, like in some noir film where the main character shadows the suspects. Once in the hotel, I saw them walking down the corridor, completely at ease, like they were lounging at home. It made me sick. Emma was whispering something to David, and he laughed in response, so loud it seemed the walls shook with their sweet moment. That was it. I felt something snap inside me. I couldn't just stand there and watch the show anymore. It was time to act. I stepped around the corner and called out their names. Clearly, loudly, without a hint of hesitation. Emma! David! The moment I'd been waiting for had come. Oh, if only you could have seen how they turned around. Their faces were something between pure horror and raw panic. They froze, like they'd just been thrown under a spotlight. In that moment, I knew I had them both by the collar, and I wasn't about to let them go. Once inside the hotel, I saw them walking down the corridor, completely at ease, like they were lounging on a couch at home. It made me sick. Emma was whispering something to David, and he laughed, loud enough that it seemed to make the walls shake from the impact of their sweet moment. In that instant, something inside me ignited. I couldn't just stand there and watch this twisted show any longer. It was time to act. I stepped out from around the corner and called out their names. Clear, loud, no hesitation. Emma! David! This was the moment I'd been waiting for. Oh, if only you could have seen how they turned. Their faces, somewhere between sheer terror and pure panic. They froze, like spotlights had caught them. I knew I had them both by the scruff, and there was no way I was letting go. From that point on, everything spiraled out of control. If this were a comedy with some ridiculous misunderstanding, maybe I'd have laughed. But looking at my wife and brother, who were standing there in absolute shock, laughter was the furthest thing from my mind. David spoke first. Who would have thought the party king would turn so pitiful in this moment? He waved his hand like it was all some kind of joke. "Hey, Alex," he said, trying to pull a fake smile. "This was just a joke, you know. We just wanted to cheer you up." A joke? A joke? What the? I stood there looking at him, and I could tell he wasn't making any sense. What joke? Were we in some improv club? Only the audience, me, wasn't finding this cleverness funny. Seeing that his little act was falling apart, he tried another angle, muttering something like, "It was just a moment of weakness, Alex." A moment of weakness, huh? Almost applaudable. You know, it might have sounded more believable if he didn't look so pathetic. And yes, buddy, your moment of weakness has just burned every shred of trust that was left between us. I turned to look at Emma. She was silent, like she'd lost the ability to speak, her eyes so wide they looked like she'd just seen a ghost. Her face was pure horror. No tears, no excuses, just stunned silence. Finally, she managed to get out. "It was a mistake, Alex. I'm sorry." A mistake? So, in your script, everything happening here is just a mistake? A mistake is when you forget to turn off the lights before leaving the house, not when you're secretly meeting your husband's brother. At that moment, I felt a hollow emptiness inside me, like everything around me was falling apart. It was as if someone had yanked the ground from beneath my feet, and now I was just falling endlessly, with nothing to hold on to. I couldn't even hear their words anymore. Meaningless sounds. No apologies, no justifications could put out the fire raging inside me. I realized I had no reason to be around them anymore. I turned and headed for the door. The last thing I heard was Emma's faint, pleading voice, still trying to say something to me. But I was already far away, far from all her pathetic words and their fake friendship. I slammed the door and walked away, feeling that this was the end of everything I believed in, everything I trusted. The following weeks felt like an endless marathon from hell, without a finish line, without spectators, just an endless run across burning coals. I tried to process everything that had happened, but every day felt like another hit to the head with the question, how could they? The pain and anger tore me apart. I fell asleep every night with one thought, how am I supposed to keep living after this? And as if to twist the knife, David decided it was a good time to start talking. My brother, the same party king, now tried to act as though he was genuinely remorseful. He'd call, text, and call again. And you know, each call or message only fueled the fire more because, instead of words of apology, all I heard was the obvious. He had nowhere else to go. What, buddy? Did your new fling not meet your expectations? Well, sorry to say, but you chose the wrong role in this drama. Emma went even further. She started coming to my place. Every visit was a whole performance of regretful words and pleading looks. Over and over, she tried to explain herself, as if her words could erase all those scenes now forever burned into my memory. But you know what hurt the most? Every look she gave me was like a sharp blade. Every sigh reminded me that I trusted her like no one else, and she'd crushed that trust like it was nothing. At some point, I realized that going on like this was pointless. Another chance? What for? Even if I wanted to fix things, everything inside me said that this story was over. I filed for divorce. The decision felt like a relief, as if all this darkness could finally lift, and I could regain some control over my life. I knew one thing for sure. There was no turning back. Emma tried to resist, of course. She tried to convince me that we could make it right, but by then it sounded no more convincing than an old TV show commercial. Her words meant nothing anymore. And here's the irony. Their story didn't survive the blow either. Yes, they thought they could carry on after everything, but their relationship turned out to be even more fragile than I expected. Resentment, anger, distrust, all of it eventually tore them apart too. Apparently, without secrecy and intrigue, the romance of the century turned out to be just an empty shell. Now I have neither a brother nor a wife. They're both gone, as if they never existed. But you know what? It was the only way to bring me peace.